Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today on my channel, I have author D.N. Miller. She's the author of Color My Tears and While He Sleeps. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you?
I am great this afternoon. How are you, Queen?
Fine. Now tell us about yourself.
Well, I just turned 40 in February. I am the mother of 6 sons. Yay! I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and right now the weather is pretty okay. It was been crappy for a while. I have been writing ever since I have been 8 years old, and I love to write. I started out writing poetry. My English teacher, Miss Hill, God rest her soul, she is the one who actually turned me on to writing. She had a contest one time, and I entered in the contest and I won. And every day she used to give us these journals, and she would tell us to write in the journals, and she never graded us. And so I started writing in these journals, and I never stopped. And this was when I was I think I was in the 6th grade at the time. So I continued to write in my journal all the way up until I became an adult. And so recently, my mother and father passed away. It's been a year for my father. He passed away last year, and it's going on 2 years for my mother. And during that time, it was really difficult for me. I tried to commit suicide. I got really, really depressed, and I was going through a lot. I got fired from my job. My kids was cutting up real bad. All of this at the same time. And so one day I was at the bridge that I talk about in my book, Color My Tears, ready to jump. And God reached out to me. God reached out to me, and he said, "Queen, what are you doing? Stop. You got kids. They need you. They love you. They're going through this just as much as you are." My mother and my children were very, very close. And at the time, I couldn't see that they were going through their own grieving process just as well as I was. And I didn't recognize that at the time. And so that day, I ended up walking back to my house. It was raining. And I got home, and I just pulled out my notebook, and I just started writing and started writing and started writing. And then, a month later, I produced this book, Color of My Tears. And it's an auto bio of me, how, I suffered when I was younger, growing up. My father was my father was very abusive, and my mother was just in love with him. And, it was really hard growing up. I was the loner, I always got teased, I always got ripped on. We was very, very poor. But the one thing that I love about myself and learned to love about myself is my weirdness. I've always got called the weird one out the bunch. I was always different from everybody else. And because of me being that way as a young kid, I grew up into this wonderful woman who loves everything about herself. I love being different. I love being weird. I love the fact that I don't have to try to fit in with nobody. And that's cool. So that's how I came about with my book, Color My Tears. I talk a lot about my childhood trauma and how I thought I was over it, but I wasn't. All of that came rushing back once my mother and my father passed away. And I realized that I was still dealing with a bunch of my past issues. When I was going through my grieving process, I didn't even know I was depressed. That's the crazy part about it. We sometimes think we know, when we see people, you don't know sometimes. I didn't know. I thought I was, going about my everyday life, and I wasn't. I had acquired a gambling problem, really, really bad. And that was really difficult because I also had anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I would wake up early in the morning, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, crying, thinking about my parents. I ain't had nobody to talk to. My dude wasn't going to wake up. He had to be at work. My friends was asleep. They wasn't answering the phone. But you know what was open? The casino. And so I always made my way to the casino. Then, you know, I did pretty good. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't take away the pain that I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was crazy. I was smoking weed. I don't even smoke weed. I was partying a lot, just trying to get through the days. And even got to the point where I cheated. I cheated on my long-term relationship. I've been with this man for 17 years. And I cheated with somebody that at the time was a really close friend of mine. And that right there was just hell and back. He took advantage. He took advantage of my hurt and my pain. And I was able to turn all of this into a book. And once I realized that you can't depend on other people to help you get through your hurt. People will say they're going to be there. People will say, if you need me, call me. I got you. But they don't.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, because the minute you do call them, they really don't want to talk to you. They only said it because it was this thing to say. It's implanted in our head. We didn't heard our mom say it. We heard our dad say it. But when it comes down to people actually being there for you, a lot of them won't be. I had a handful, you know, that was there. But the ones that I really needed to be there, they didn't understand what I was going through. And so I used to talk to God all the time, every single day about what I was going through. God, please take this pain away. Please take it away. But I had to realize I had to go through it. You can't just jump over it. You can't walk around it. That pain is going to be there until you accept it and you learn how to deal with it and you learn how to cope with it and you take it one day at a time. And that's what I had to do. When I accepted the fact that my mom and my dad was gone and there was nothing that I could do to get them back, I started feeling a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I have my days every now and again, you know, where I'll think about them and I might cry, listen to some old school, you know,
Yeah.
and some church music, you know, and I'll think about them. But at the end of the day, I know my mom and my father are very proud of me. I know that they're watching over me and my children. And, you know, some people would say, you know, why didn't you go get counseling? I didn't think counseling could help me. I done told my story to 1,000 people and didn't feel no better. But I had to go through it in
Mm-hmm.
order to understand and get over it. So that's how I came about my book, Color of My Tears.
Okay. You want to talk about while he sleeps?
Yes, ma'am. So while he sleeps, I started writing this book last year, actually. We all know how it is, especially before COVID-19. A lot of our youth, a lot of our Black men, a lot of our Black boys were getting slaughtered and gunned down and killed by racists, by cops, and nothing was being done. Who goes to say it's not going to go? This is their norm when COVID-19 is over. It's still an issue. Just
Mm-hmm.
because we got another issue, it's still an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so while he sleeps, it's a book about a family who goes through this trauma. You know, they're the average family. They got good jobs. They live in a so-so neighborhood. You know, their kids is good. And, you know, the son goes to the mall with his friends and gets gunned down by mall security. And mall security, he gets off because he's a white man and he's also connected. I'm sorry, hello? He's a white man and he also is connected to, you know, the police in my book. And so I've often heard, you know, people rant all the time about how, oh, if that was my child or if that was such and such, I would do this, I would do that. But people don't. We march, we protest, we have visuals, and we cry. That's our norm. That's what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? We've been doing that for years. When is it going to end? When is it going to stop? Why is it always, oh, next time, next time? There should never be a next time when it comes to our young men getting slaughtered. To them, it's something that they do every day. But guess what? They don't understand that when they take away our children and our men, it devastates the woman. The woman is the glue of the household. If she's not together and she can't function, the whole house falls apart. So when you kill a Black woman's child, you killing her. And people don't understand. It's inhuman to go around and kill people and get away with it and not feel nothing. They don't understand, what if that was their family? And also on the news, how, when they talk about our people and when we get killed, they always want to go in somebody's past. He was 8 years old and he had a history of, no, honey, stop it. Every time something happens to one of us, they're a thug, they're this, they're that. But when it's other races, it's, oh, well, this, and it's all these excuses.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to stop. And so in my book, there's justice. And it might not be the justice that everybody, because guess what? Justice comes at a cost. It doesn't mean just because somebody go to jail that pain is going to stop. It doesn't stop when somebody's child or their man get taken away. It doesn't stop. The pain is always there. We see all the time on the news in different neighborhoods. Just because, they be like, we suspended him. He got paid leave. That's a vacation.
Yep.
That's not justice. And even if you fire somebody, it's not justice. It doesn't make up for what they did. It will never be equal to you taking somebody's life. The issue is there. And so in my book, I talk about that. It's not one of those political books. It's a storyline. It's a plot twist. And justice is served one way or another. And it's called While He Sleeps. It's a good book.
What does the D.N. in Arthur D.N. Miller mean?
Danielle Nicole Miller, my first and my middle name.
Oh, okay. When did you know that you wanted to be an author?
A long time ago, when I was young. I always wanted to be a writer. Even when I was in college, I wrote a lot. I entered in a lot of contests. My work was always in our school newspaper. I just didn't know how to go about actually writing a book. There was like one publishing company that I only knew about growing up, Dornish Publishing Company here in Pittsburgh. And every time I looked at the prices, I would just be like, oh my God, I don't have enough money for that. But as I got older and I started doing my research, there were so many ways around, paying those upfront fees and all those outrageous fees. And so when I started doing my research and reaching out to different people and connecting with different people, I learned how to do that. I'm financially stable now to where, I can write books and, they're international and I can order books and get the proper works done on them to make sure that my books come out really, really good. But yeah, I've always known that I wanted to write. I love writing. I'm weird. So the thoughts that I got in my head, people need to know about
them. What do you do when you're not writing?
When I'm not writing, I like to travel. With the COVID-19, I haven't been able to do that. But I do a lot of graphic art design and a lot of do-it-yourself projects. I'm really, really into that. And so was my children. And just advertising. I like to find different and creative ways to advertise my books. And I like to help people. So when people contact me and they ask me questions about writing and I'm there. I'm definitely the person to come to, and I'm not stingy. Some people will get information and want to retain it. And no, call me, text me, inbox me if there's a question and you're not sure about something. I'll respond.
What is your testimony?
Woo! My testimony is put God in every single thing that you do. Just 2 years ago, a year ago, I wanted to kill myself. And right now, at this very moment, I'm writing books and I'm helping people and I'm saving lives. I say, if there's something that you want to do, do it. Don't wait. Don't wait for people to support you, because a lot of times they won't. It be the strangers that support you, not family, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it. Dive head in it. Ask God. Talk to God. My testimony is I do what I want in a good way, though, not in a bad way. And I do what I want because I have my trust and my faith in the Lord. And I know he's not going to steer me in the wrong direction.
How do you feel about reviews, whether they're good or bad?
I like reviews. If they're bad, it depends on how many reviews is bad. At the same time, maybe if I get too many bad reviews, that will give me a chance to look back at my work. Mm-hmm. And I will get a chance to, take some classes, talk to some other people to improve my writing skills. Good reviews is always good, but you can always continue to do better. So I look at good and bad reviews as a learning experience, especially when you're starting out, such as myself. Now, if you've been in the game for some years and you still getting bad reviews, then I don't know. But I look at them as a learning experience. You have to fall in order to know where you're going. You have to be able to take good and bad criticism in order to succeed. Nobody comes into something new already knowing what they're doing. So I'm cool off of reviews.
What inspires you to write, or what sparks you to write your story?
The thoughts that's in my head. A lot of times I have so many things in my head that I be wanting to voice my opinion, and my stories might not always be the stories that people want to hear, but they need to hear. Mm-hmm. So it's my truth. It's my honest. It's what I think. And you never know who else out there, is thinking the same thing. Right now I'm gearing towards more crime and crime, because I feel as though, in our world, there's a lot of crime that's taking place and it's not being solved. There's not a lot of justice. And so I found myself now writing a lot of crime books. Yeah.
Was it hard to write these books about life in your journey?
It was hard for me to write Color My Tears because it made me think about my past. Was a lot of triggers that I had that I didn't realize that I had. In my book, my father did a lot of things that was minor back then, but those minor things brought back a certain smell or certain things that he used to do that used to piss me off. And so when I would, even now in my everyday life, for instance, in my book, I talk about how my father always looked out the window with this nasty, raggedy old pillow. And so I don't allow my children to look out the window. If somebody's knocking on the door or if they're walking past and are being loud, I do not allow them to look out the window because that traumatized me as a kid. That was his entertainment. He stood there for hours looking out the window, watching people. That's creepy. It affected me as an adult. there's just certain things that I won't do and I won't allow my children to do just because my father always did them.
Mm-hmm. What has been the hardest thing about writing a book?
The time. Because all these thoughts in your head and trying to get them out and get them down properly, the right way, and letting it be your voice and not somebody else's voice, I think is kind of hard. You have a whole storyline in your head that you want everybody else to understand, to hear, but you got to make sure you choose the right words so people can feel what you feel when they read your story.
What projects are you working on right now?
Ooh, I'm so happy you asked, Queen. So, so right now I have 2 other books that I'm working on. One of them is called Crime and Conscience. It's a 2-part book. It will not have any chapters in it. I wanted to do something different. This book takes place in the U.S. and in Jamaica. I have another book that I'm working on, and that is a series of small essays. And I actually interviewed people for this book, and this one is called Open Wounds. This one is my baby because there's so many things that go on in this world that people try to ignore, like being a transgender and what transgenders go through, like being molested, like we always talk about how men are abusive, but what about the women that are abusive? They are the abusee in the relationship. And so this book that I'm working on is the truth. It talks about things that we don't recognize. It talks about things that we're uncomfortable with talking about. One of the people that I interviewed is a transgender, and she talks about how she first started out and how, you know, she realized that she was gay, how her mother treated her, and how she got kicked out and she started being a prostitute, lying to men, telling them that she was a woman when she was really a man, and how they literally would beat her up. I have another guy that I interviewed that was raped in jail. So this book that I'm doing is going to make a lot of people feel uncomfortable, but it's also going to bring awareness because it happens to people. It's out there. So I think it's very important that people just don't, you know, dismiss it. We talk about some of the same things all the time, but there's a lot of things that's going on under the radar that people just don't feel comfortable talking about, and I'm bringing it to the table. So,
what has been your greatest accomplishment thus far as a writer?
My greatest accomplishment is my sons, my kings. I love them so much. Seeing their mommy actually doing it. Seeing their mommy actually make her dreams come true. It's gotten to the point where now, you know, my younger sons are talking to me about writing a book, writing children's books. I always say that children learn by example. And so now, you know, I know my sons are paying attention to me when they're asking me about my books. Mom, did you sell any books today? They know all my titles. And so that makes me feel good as a mother and as a woman and as an author to know that my sons is going to follow in my footsteps and they see me doing it. They could go to school and be like, my mom's an author. That makes me feel really good. So that's my greatest accomplishment.
Where can readers get in touch with you?
Ooh, I'm so happy you asked. So I am available on Amazon. I just uploaded my works on Ingram Spark, so I will be internationally known. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I am on every single platform: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, author D.N. Miller. If anybody would like to email me, that is authordnmiller@gmail.com. And you can also visit my website, authordnmiller.com. And also on my website, I also showcase other authors. So there's books on my platform. No, I did not publish them. I just like to support other authors. And so I have books on my platform too. So when you visit my page, you can also check out their work and buy their book as well.
Is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
I would like to say thank you all for listening. Thank you all for supporting me. And thank you, Queen, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. I think you're a great woman. I follow you. You are very humble. Oh, and guess what? You are a woman of God, and I love it. So thank you so very much. And I am going to continue to follow your platform because you are doing wonderful things, Miss Mel.
Thank you. Do you want to play a little game before you go?
Sure, why not?
Okay, my favorites. Your favorite color?
Purple.
Favorite snack?
Oreo cookies.
Ooh. Favorite restaurant?
Carmine.
And favorite perfume?
Anything cheap? I don't have one.
Favorite childhood book and why?
Favorite childhood book? The Cat in the Hat.
Why?
I like The Cat in the Hat because he was weird. He was different and it rhymed. And that is like a childhood book that everybody has read and everybody reads it. It's a cartoon, it's a movie. And for generations to come, The Cat in the Hat will always be the stuff.
And the last one, favorite author, who would you love to co-author with?
Favorite author, Stephen King.
And who would you like to co-author with?
Co-author with Sister Soldier.
All right. Thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. She has, and here is one of her books, Color of My Tears and While He Sleeps.
Yes.
Amazon. Get it today.
Get it today.
All right. Thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate it. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.